All right, this week we're going to do a drawing exercise that uses the principles that we looked at last week, the issues of line and um, looking at the envelope and using straight lines and flat shapes to try to get proportions. But what I want to do this week is, in using those principles, I want to kind of take a deeper dive into the nature of life drawing and using those principles. And what we're going to look at is the idea of memory drawing. So when you draw, you're always drawing from memory, right? Like when you draw, if I was drawing these, I wouldn't look at the objects and draw them at the same time. Right? What I do is I look at the objects, I draw, look at the objects, and I draw. So what I'm really doing when I'm life drawing is I'm not sort of looking, copying nature directly. What I'm doing is I'm forming some kind of mental image in my mind. I'm holding on to that, and that's what I'm drawing. And that's what artists have always done. The great masters were able to kind of draw out that process so that, over years of experience in looking at nature, at relationships and shapes and so forth, they could hold images for a really long time in their head, and they could reproduce, amazing images just from their memory. We don't have to sort of go that far necessarily, but the idea is that it's very important when you're looking and drawing from nature that you realize that you've got to look in a way so that you create a very intense and strong image in your head so that you can get a better image on your paper. So what we're going to do with our drawing this week is you're going to set up a still life as you did last week, so 3 or 4 images. But what you're going to do is you're going to set that still life up in an area or in a way so that you can't see it when you're actually drawing. So one way to do that is to set up the still life arrangement in another room. So if you've got a room next to your room where you're drawing, set it up in there. You could possibly even take the setup outside and then come back in your apartment or house and draw. Or you could also take your easel and you can turn it so that your back was to the things that you're drawing. So do what you're comfortable with. This is kind of easy because you can very sort of quickly get into a drawing routine that's not that different from the way that you draw when you're like this. So I'm kind of relying on you to sort of set things up so that you're forced to create a little bit more time, a little bit more of a blank spot between the time that you're looking at the thing and you're actually drawing it on your canvas. So again, for you to get the most out of this exercise, you need to just you need to be dedicated to trying to set up in a way so that you can't easily see what you're looking at, so that there's a gap between looking and drawing where you have to hold the image in your head. Wherever you set up this still life arrangement, it's going to be important for you to sort of approach it and see it from the same place every single time you look at it, right? You don't want to come in and see it off to the side one time and then walk in and sort of look at it from this spot over here the next. So put a piece of tape down, just a small piece of masking tape. Walk up to that tape every time. Decide what height you're going to be at as well. So you don't want to be sitting down one time and standing up, right? Because that's going to change all the relationships. So decide on your height level. Decide exactly from left to right where you are in relation to that setup, and go back to that spot every single time. It's also helpful when you're looking and making notes. It's okay to use your drawing tool to physically try to replicate what your eye is trying to do for that particular moment. So if I was in front of this and I was trying to come up with an envelope shape for all of those, it might be helpful to actually draw that envelope shape in the air, because what that does is it makes your drawing, what your eye is doing physical, and it's a little bit easier to hold on to images, to hold on to the memory of that image if you've made it physical for yourself in some way. All right, it's really important too with this exercise, start off simple. You don't have to take these drawings to a really complicated place. I'm not looking for a lot of resolution in these forms, a lot of detail. What I'm more interested in is you struggling with this process of trying to hold the image in your memory and really focusing on the geometry of what you're looking at. The size and height and width relationships of these objects, the space relationship between them, which object is closer, which is further. So use a lot of construction lines. You can keep the drawings fairly simple. But again, the idea in this is to really push that idea of memory and allow yourself to struggle and grapple a little bit with that, with trying to hold the image in your head and then trying to get it down on paper. All right, as always, once you start, if you're having any issues, feel free to contact me either via email or on our discussion page on Canvas.